Back when I was a wee lad, over 5 years ago when I was still selling for Lexus, one of the biggest holes in the lineup was a usable three-row family crossover. Yes, we had the GX. GX way too small. You have that third row of seats up, and even today in the J250, successor to the GX 460, there's still not a lot of cargo space. There's more than there used to be, but it's minimal. The LX cost $100,000 and still didn't give you any cargo space. And then you had the RX 350L and the 450HL, okay, which was just a really poorly engineered three-row, half-assed attempt of a three-row crossover. Let's be real. The people who were buying an RX 350L were people who just wanted the extra cargo capacity over normal RX. They just fold the third row of seats down. And then it looks like our prayers were answered. Okay, so back in May of 23, a little over 2 years ago at this point, and then I debuted the new TX for you guys June 9th of 2023. Okay, we had the 500H and the 350. There was also a plug-in hybrid that I still haven't driven yet, and I don't know when I'll get a chance to drive the plug-in hybrid TX. That's still technically an option, but we'll talk about how it's really not an option in a little bit. But it was just, there was a glaring hole here, okay, in the TX, and for two reasons. The TX didn't have a V6 unless you got the plug-in hybrid. Again, that's just the vehicle really doesn't exist, all right? But you went from a 350 2.4 turbo four-cylinder gasoline engine with 275 horsepower, right? And then there was a huge gap, all right, from that base 350 powertrain to the 500H. And there's also a huge price gap between the two as well. All right, so if you wanted a hybrid, you had to jump up to the Performance 500H. Meanwhile, the Grand Highlander has a normal hybrid on it, a 2.5 liter with around 245 horsepower, but it gets like 35 plus miles per gallon. And it's the same vehicle. It's built on the same assembly line. And that hybrid was never given to the Lexus TX. They said, hey, you don't want an underpowered hybrid system. You only want the 366 horsepower hybrid max, or you want the very versatile and still powerful V6 plug-in hybrid. And the other glaring weakness to the TX three-row crossover from Lexus, besides not having a more affordable hybrid option, was the fact that if you wanted the hybrid, whether that's a plug-in hybrid or the 500H, you had to give up usability for passengers. It's only available in 6-seaters. It made no sense to me. If you wanted 7 seats or 8 seats in a TX with a hybrid, you were SOL, and you still might be. Time will tell. But I have great news for Lexus fans out there who are looking for the perfect solution, the Goldilocks. Not too powerful, but still great fuel economy. All right, smoother, quieter, more efficient, more luxurious than the 2.4 turbo base powertrain. All right, here we have a trademark, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to bring the new TX in, probably with a refresh of some sort, all right, with a 400H. Have we seen 400H before? 400H was actually maybe last seen on an RX 400H. Let me show you. RX 400H in the second gen in the mid-2000s was the first luxury hybrid, and they also were the first to kind of push the boundaries of propulsion a little bit further forward. We had an e-axle in the back. All Toyota hybrids for all-wheel drive uses e-axles, all right, which is just an electric motor, completely separate mechanically from the front wheels and the engine to power the rear wheels. Okay, so we had a 400H. Now, back then it was a V6 hybrid. Is this going to be a V6 hybrid here on this new TX 400H? And the answer is absolutely not. But I'm 99.999% sure that what this powertrain is a next generation of what we see on the Grand Highlander hybrid. Grand Highlander hybrid has around a 245 horsepower optional all-wheel drive. Again, over 35 miles per gallon. But that's on a 4th gen Toyota hybrid system that's been around for a long time. What this 400H is insinuating is that it's going to be more powerful than that. Okay, because if you look at the 350h from Lexus, for example, in an RX, that has 246 horsepower, very similar to what the Grand Highlander hybrid has. So if we estimate a little bit more power here, what could we be seeing from a 400h in terms of horsepower? I would probably say 255 to 260. They rate these on premium. They don't need premium, but they rate these on premium for their advertised fuel economy and advertised horsepower ratings. All right. So what we're going to see here is actually the next gen powertrain in the Lexus ES. It's already in this 5th gen system's already in the Camry hybrid. So if we go to the Lexus ES here, we scroll down. This is a new 2026 model coming out this year. We have they say 243 horsepower. Is that what we're going to have here? Just 243 horsepower? Well, logic would dictate no, because this is a 350h. Even if this is rated on premium on the ES 350h on a 5th gen hybrid, how is this new TX 400h going to be able to hold down a different naming structure than what the ES has? Well, it's simple. Okay, they will use a bigger battery. We don't know the battery size here on the ES 350h, but more than likely, it's probably just around a kilowatt hour. If we look at what actually the Sienna has, for example, the Sienna has almost a 2 kilowatt hour battery. That's why it can get such crazy good fuel economy on top of the other, benefits of Toyota's hybrid systems. But it has a battery that is about double the size of a traditional Toyota battery on a hybrid. So we can probably estimate that this will have about a 2 kilowatt hour battery on the TX 400h. With this new 5th gen hybrid system, that should easily get us to 255, 260 horsepower. Only time will tell, but this is very exciting that the TX is finally getting the powertrain that it needed. Now, does Lexus need to make this a standard powertrain? Well, I think it would help them out immensely, and it would also help them separate themselves from oversharing the Toyota 2.4 turbo. We know that the 2.4 turbo seen in the base Grand Highlander as well as the Lexus TX, it's not going to last that long. Toyota is developing a new 2-liter engine to replace the 2.4 currently in use in the RX, the NX, the TX, the Highlander, the Grand Highlander, etc. They could absolutely just discontinue the TX's 350 base powertrain, the gas. It would make sense to me. Will they do it? I have no idea, but it would make sense to me for them to do that. Look, they know the demand for their hybrids is through the roof, whether it's a Toyota or Lexus. All right. Now, what about plug-in hybrid? Well, it is still it's still non-existent, and I'll tell you why. If we look at TXs in my area, and maybe we'll look nationwide here in a little bit. All right, there's actually a ton. There is a ton of TXs in my area, but guess what? 340 out of, let's say, the 415 or whatever here, 340 of them is the 2.4 turbo. All right, only 74 is the 500h. And we're also seeing discounts, if I remember, on the 500h a lot of times because you can get this powertrain for, let's say, 10, 15 grand, sometimes less, and a Toyota Grand Highlander. All right, and the Grand Highlander looks better than this. Yes, this is quieter, a little bit smoother, but I'm telling you, Grand Highlander is a very, very, very impressive vehicle. Lexus TX, it's compromised in that it just only has 6 seats when you get it in the hybrid. And this is where Lexus can fix its shortcomings, but with this new powertrain. A lot of people don't want this much power in a hybrid. They don't need it. They're just like, hey, I just want good fuel economy. I want a smooth, quiet experience. You can get that in the new 400h. Who knows when it's coming out, by the way. All right. If you want a TX, maybe you should hold off, though. Does this trademark mean that it's coming? The answer is not 100%. But Lexus is becoming more and more electrified, and this is a gaping hole in their TX powertrain offering. Okay, so if it doesn't come, that's a huge fail. It is, I would say it probably comes in the next couple of years. All right, with a refresh, it would make the most sense. And then you can also package in 7-8 seats with this TX base hybrid. But again, There's just not that many hybrids out there. There are 0 plug-in hybrids in my area. They're impossible to find. I don't know why. I have no idea why they are impossible to find. Let's see how many of the plug-in hybrids are available in the US. All right, TX5, only 18. And keep in mind, these are $80,000 to $90,000 plug-in hybrids. Again, I haven't driven it. If you want to get your hands on a luxury plug-in hybrid, 3-row, don't waste your time too much if you can't find an available TX 550h Plus. The Volvo XC90 T8, a masterclass of luxury and execution. Watch my review on that vehicle. So I'm not that sad that this is not that highly available, because the Volvo, so I pull up the Volvo real quick. I mean, there's 61 just in my area. All right. And these can be had for a lot less money, sometimes 10 grand less than a Lexus TX plug-in hybrid. And like I said, way more availability. There's over 66 of these in just my area, which is more than what the TX has nationwide by a long shot with the TX plug-in hybrid. If we look at the Grand Highlander right now, even this vehicle, also made in Indiana, alongside the Lexus TX, there's hardly any available, just 33 hybrids in my area, and that includes the Hybrid Max. So there's just very, very limited hybrid availability on this vehicle, but also keep in mind that Lexus and Toyota are becoming more and more electrified. Don't be surprised if one of these vehicles, the TX or the Grand Highlander, I think the TX makes more sense to go fully electrified in the near future, just like the Camry is, the RAV4 is going to be later this year, etc. All right, so pretty exciting stuff. I just felt like sharing that. And lastly, we're going to end with the teaser from Toyota. Okay, 15 days until this big secretive cryptic reveal from Toyota. All right, so if we go to the translation here, the last couple days, a bit of a nothing burger. All right, but apparently the big reveal is going to be on Toyota Times, October 13th. And Toyota Times, let me pull it up. This is Toyota's in-house, I guess, newspaper or magazine or website, whatever you want to call it. It's their in-house reporting agency for Toyota stuff. All right, so this is where the big reveal is going to take place. Akio Toyota's all over this page. I mean, he's almost in every single article here over at Toyota Times. All right, so this is kind of like his hype page, I guess you could say, for Toyota. If there's any big announcements, I'll let you guys know, but let's get excited for Lexus finally bringing in a standard hybrid that's not a performance hybrid, that's not a plug-in hybrid, that is more affordable and is going to offer incredible fuel economy, and hopefully that 7 to 8 seat option that hybrid owners are looking to have that flexibility with. So I'll see you guys in the comments. Stay tuned for more Lexus coverage. Again, I am leaving in about a month to go to Japan for the Japan Mobility Show. Now, this vehicle won't be revealed there. The TX is a North American product, so I highly doubt this vehicle would be even shown or talked about at the Japan Mobility Show. But I'll bring you whatever they do reveal with electric cars, maybe next-gen plug-in hybrids, maybe performance cars, all that stuff. I'll bring it to you. Stay locked in on the channel. Make sure you subscribe, and I appreciate all your support. Thank you, guys. Have a great day. And if you want to watch, let's say, my video on the TX that I reviewed earlier this year, click the box around my face. Or if you're curious on how incredible that other luxury plug-in hybrid from Volvo is, the XC90 T8 is, check that video out as well. Thank you. Have a great day. Peace out.